Here's the truth about Banff. Every single time you get in the car and drive through this national park, you're on a scenic drive. The mountains are everywhere, the views are nonstop, and sometimes it's easy to forget just how spectacular the scenery is because you're rushing to your next destination. But there are certain routes that are absolutely unmissable, drives that will have you saying wow every few minutes. Whether you're looking for world famous routes like the Icefields Parkway or gems closer to town, I'm going to share the scenic drives that should be on your list. Before we dive into these incredible scenic routes, I want to tell you about two resources that can completely transform your Banff experience. I've created comprehensive travel guides that take all the guesswork out of planning your trip. My Banff travel guide covers everything you need for the warmer months, where to stay, what to do, and yes, all these scenic drives we're about to discuss. And since we're heading into fall and winter, my Banff Winter Travel Guide is perfect for planning those magical snowy season adventures, including some of the best activities in the winter, some that most people don't even know exist. Both guides are packed with insider tips and all the practical information you need to make the most of your time here. You can grab both at banfftravelplanning.com. Trust me, having a solid plan makes all the difference. Now back to those scenic drives. Let's start with the big one, the Icefields Parkway, also known as Highway 93 North. This is the drive that people fly across the world to experience, and honestly, it lives up to every bit of the hype. This 230-kilometer stretch between Lake Louise and Jasper is like driving through a nature documentary. You're talking glaciers, turquoise lakes, towering waterfalls, and mountain peaks that seem to go on forever. I've driven this route countless times, and I still find myself pulling over just to stare. Here's what you need to know. You can drive straight through in about 3 hours, but don't even think about it. The magic happens when you slow down and make the stops. Bow Lake with its brilliant turquoise water and glacier views, Peyto Lake where the water is so blue it looks fake, and the Columbia Icefield where you can actually walk on a glacier. My top stops, Parker Ridge. If you only do one hike, it gives you incredible views of the Saskatchewan Glacier. Mistaya Canyon is one of those hidden gems where the river has carved these amazing curves into the limestone, and it's only about a 10-minute walk from the parking lot. And definitely don't miss Athabasca Falls and Sunwapta Falls on the northern end. But here's the thing about the Icefields Parkway, there's virtually no cell service, so download your maps ahead of time, fuel up in Lake Louise or Jasper depending on which direction you're coming from, and bring snacks because your only options are at the Columbia Icefield Adventure Center or mid-route at Saskatchewan River Crossing, and they're going to be expensive. Make sure to check out episode 23 that goes way more into detail on the Icefields Parkway. I'll also leave my full guide in the show notes. If the Icefields Parkway is the superstar, then the Valley Parkway is the charming local favorite. This 48-kilometer route between Banff and Lake Louise used to be the main highway, but now it's this beautiful, slower alternative to the Trans-Canada Highway. What I love about the Valley Parkway, like the Icefields Parkway or any of these other ones, is the wildlife. This road has a reduced speed limit, and it makes spotting them so much easier. Deer, elk, and black bears are regular sightings, especially early in the morning or around sunset. The must-do stop along the Valley Parkway is, of course, Johnston Canyon. Even if you're not much of a hiker, the walk to the lower falls is on these elevated boardwalks through this incredible canyon. While some people might tell you that Johnston Canyon is overrated, my guess is they were there at the wrong time. To truly enjoy Johnston Canyon, you don't want to be there when it's crowded. Castle Mountain is another highlight. You'll see why it got its name when you see that distinctive flat-top peak that looks exactly like a castle. Now, there are some seasonal restrictions on the Valley Parkway from March 1st to June 25th. This happens every year, and it's the eastern 17 kilometers between Johnston Canyon and Banff. It's closed overnight from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. for wildlife protection. But in the spring, May 1st to June 25th, then again from late August through early October, this same section is completely closed to vehicles even during the day, making it perfect for cycling. We love riding this section to Johnston Canyon. I think it's one of the best ways to experience the beauty of this area. Now make sure you check out episode 12 for even more details on exploring the Valley Parkway and Johnston Canyon. Of course, I'll leave some detailed guides in the show notes for both of those. Next is probably the most underrated scenic drive in the Banff area, and it's right on your doorstep, just 5 kilometers from downtown Banff. The Lake Minnewanka Scenic Drive is a round 20-kilometer loop that takes you to 3 gorgeous mountain lakes. Your first stop should be at Cascade Ponds, where you'll find those famous Banff red chairs with up-close views of Cascade Mountain. It's one of the best picnic spots in the park. Johnson Lake is the warmest swimmable lake in Banff and perfect for stand-up paddleboarding or even a short hike around. Two Jack Lake gives you those postcard views of Mount Rundle, especially at sunrise when the peak gets that pink alpenglow. But the star is Lake Minnewanka itself, Banff's largest lake at 21 kilometers long. You can take a boat cruise, rent kayaks, or do the Stewart Canyon hike. And if you're feeling adventurous, there's the Elmer Lookout hike, which is a full day commitment but gives you unparalleled views over the lake. This area is also rich in history. You can explore the Bankhead ghost town, remnants of a coal mining operation from the early 1900s with interpretive signs that tell you the fascinating story of this boom and bust town. Episode 20 goes into the Lake Minnewanka Scenic Drive in more detail. And as you can expect, I have detailed guides for these places and the drive itself. Now, sometimes the best scenic drives are right under your nose. Tunnel Mountain Road is short but sweet, connecting you to some of the best viewpoints around the Banff town site. The Hoodoo's viewpoint is where you get those incredible eastward views down the Bow Valley, and you can see why the Stoney Nakoda First Nation called Tunnel Mountain Sleeping Buffalo. It really does look like a buffalo lying down. Surprise Corner, which I'm sure you've heard about, gives you that classic view of the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel with Bow Falls in the foreground. Of course, there's Vermilion Lakes Road. It's another must-do, especially for photographers. This 4.3-kilometer drive takes you past the wetlands just outside the town of Banff, with multiple pull-offs where Mount Rundle reflects perfectly in the calm water. Early morning and sunset are magical here, and you'll often see cyclists, runners, and wildlife along this route. Both of these drives are perfect for when you want spectacular scenery but don't have time for a long adventure, and you can easily do them both together. If you want to feel like you're really climbing into the mountains, the Mount Norquay Scenic Drive is fantastic. This 6-kilometer route winds up to the Mount Norquay ski area with hairpin turns and increasingly spectacular views. There's a lookout point partway up where you can pull over for sweeping views over the town of Banff in the Bow Valley. Once you reach the top in the summer, you can take the Via Ferrata, a guided climbing experience, or enjoy a meal at the Cliff House Bistro. There's also some great hikes in that area. Now, this road has several twists and turns, so take it slow, and you'll often spot wildlife, especially bighorn sheep, along the road. If you want to venture further, head into Kananaskis country. Highway 40 offers some of the most dramatic scenery in the Rockies with fewer crowds than Banff. This route takes you through the heart of Kananaskis, past dense forests and towering peaks. One highlight is Highwood Pass. It's the highest paved pass in Canada at over 2,200 meters. The views up there are incredible, and it's your gateway to some fantastic hiking trails like Ptarmigan Cirque and Pocatera Ridge. For the more adventurous, the Smith Dorian Trail, so Highway 742, is a gravel road that connects Canmore to the Spray Lakes. It's definitely rougher driving, but the payoff is huge. The Spray Lakes on a calm day create perfect mirror reflections of the surrounding peaks, and this route definitely feels much more wild and remote. Of course, as you can expect, there are some incredible hiking trails all down this route. But just know that both of these routes have sections with no cell service, and the Smith Dorian can get pretty rough with potholes, so drive carefully. If you're headed towards Radium or Invermere, Highway 93 South, the Banff-Windermere Highway, is a fantastic way to experience both Banff and the Kootenay National Park in one scenic drive. This 105-kilometer route takes you from Banff all the way to Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia. You'll cross the Continental Divide and enter Kootenay National Park, where the landscape gradually changes as you head towards the Columbia Valley. There are some incredible stops along the way, like Marble Canyon with its deep limestone gorge, the Paint Pots with their natural ochre beds, and Stanley Glacier for a longer but spectacular hike. There's a good chance of seeing wildlife on this highway, so drive the speed limit, and of course, there's no cell service on this stretch. But the drive ends perfectly at Radium Hot Springs, where you can soak in those mineral-rich waters. Now let me share some insider tips that can make your scenic driving experience so much better. First, timing matters. Like everything in Banff, early morning, late afternoon light make everything more dramatic. Plus, you're more likely to see wildlife. The hour after sunrise and before sunset are pure magic for photography. Always have a full tank of gas before heading out on longer drives. Services are limited, especially on routes like the Icefields Parkway, and what's available can be very expensive. I highly recommend downloading the Guide Along app if you haven't already. It's GPS activated and provides audio commentary as you drive, pointing out viewpoints and sharing stories you might otherwise miss. I have a code TVLBANF for 15% off, which I'll include in the show notes. Of course, you want to pack some layers, emergency supplies, even for short drives. Mountain weather can change quickly, and you don't want to be caught unprepared if you have car trouble or weather moves in. And of course, use the pullouts. They're there for safety and to preserve the experience for everyone. Don't stop on the highway if you see a bear or to take pictures. So, how do you fit these scenic drives into your itinerary? The great thing is that most of these will be part of your drive to your activities, anyways. You'll drive the Valley Parkway to Johnston Canyon, plus, you can stay on it all the way to Lake Louise. You can make this drive part of your day when you drive west from Banff to Lake Louise or even to Yoho National Park. If you plan on doing the Lake Minnewanka boat cruise or any hikes in the Lake Minnewanka area, just make sure to drive the full loop and make some extra stops. You can always add on some of the other shorter drives in the evening after dinner, especially in the summer when the days are long. Finally, I'd give a full day to the Icefields Parkway. There's so much to see and do along the scenic drive. Just make sure to always build in some extra time and be a little flexible with your schedule. Allow yourself the extra time to enjoy these scenic drives and stop where you want. Now, here's the most relevant listener question of the week. What's the cell phone coverage like? Now, that's an important one to know, especially as we're talking about these scenic drives, right? You'll have coverage in the towns without issue, but there are some spotty parts along the Trans-Canada Highway, especially between Banff and Lake Louise. You will likely have coverage while at Lake Louise Lakeshore and even on some parts of the hikes, but you'll lose all coverage as soon as you get on Moraine Lake Road and for the entire Moraine Lake area. The Icefields Parkway doesn't have any coverage, and you'll also lose it as you enter into Yoho National Park and on Highway 93 south to Kootenay National Park. As I mentioned, you'll also lose cell service as you venture into Kananaskis, both on the Smith-Dorian Trail and on Highway 40. So my tips are, download those offline maps before heading out. Let someone know your hiking plans and expected return. Of course, take some screenshots of any important information you need before losing signal. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Banff Travel Podcast. If you got value from this episode, do me a favor. Make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss the next one. It's free, it helps the show, and it keeps you in the loop. And if you have a question you'd like me to answer in a future episode, head to banfftravelplanning.com/podcast and send it in. Until next time, happy trip planning, and I'll see you out on the trails.